I'm an introvert and I've lived here for about 5 years in Japan, and it completely changed my life. I went from being a spectator to other people's dreams to living my own and writing and directing my first feature film right here in Tokyo. I went from being too introverted and shy to communicate and talk to people to talking to over 100 women in a day sometimes and having the most beautiful relationships with some of the most feminine women I've ever met. And the biggest change I've had was losing 50 pounds. I went from 230 pounds to 180 pounds in the course of 3 months of living here. And in this video, I'm gonna show you and tell you how it happened for me and how it can possibly happen for you from moving to Japan. Let's get into it. This video isn't gonna be over edited like my others. It's just gonna be talking to the camera, no fast cuts, just pure open honesty. Number one, Japan allows you to chase your dreams. And this is what I didn't discover or didn't even recognize until I fully moved here. People respect when you dream out loud. When I first got here, people would ask me, well, what are you here for? What are you gonna do? What are your goals and stuff? And I would kind of shy away from answering that because in America, if you say your goals out loud, people kind of, depending on who you're close to or depending on who's around you, they might doubt you, or they might ask you a whole bunch of questions. You don't have everything figured out. But here, if you say anything you're trying to do, people would shake their head, nod, and they would respect what you're saying. And it will give you confidence to actually ask them for help if you need to, or they might offer their own help because they want to help you. People want to help you, and it doesn't matter if your dream is too small or too big. They will go out their way to assist you. I've had production companies actually come to me and offer certain services for free just to get my film done. And that's something I honestly never expected to happen here. And working into the film industry in America, I worked in Washington, D.C. It was very hard to get anyone to help, really. The only people I can get to help were like my friends. You know what I mean? People that are really, really close. But here, strangers would offer their help. You would say, hey, I'm doing this and I kind of know what I'm doing. I know you're an expert here. Can you give me some advice? And they would just say, hey, I'll come on set this day and help you with that for about 8 hours if you want me to. And that's something that really helped me along and got me to where I am today, to where I have a feature film that I'm selling here in Japan. So it's honestly dream come true, and it wouldn't happen if I didn't come here. Number two, relationships, not just with the opposite sex, men, women, but just like everybody, friends, acquaintances, people you work with. When you move to another country, the mannerisms are different, the do's and don'ts are different, especially a country that's 98% another race, another culture. So when it comes to doing that, I don't really know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And because of that, I'm almost a child again. If you can just take your mind and put yourself back when you were a child, you did a lot of ridiculous things. You did a lot of things that didn't make a lot of sense. You did a lot of things that made people laugh, that made people curious about you. And it's because you didn't have that internal mechanism to tell you what was wrong, what was right, what was weird, and what was strange, and what was normal. So you were more yourself. And when you move to another country, especially something, again, that's 98% another culture, another language, another race of people, you almost become that child again. Does that make sense? You don't know what's up from what's down. So you're just kind of yourself. And people here respect when you are yourself, or they like when you are yourself, because here, everyone kind of moves as a school of fish, if that makes sense. They kind of go with the flow. And me being a foreigner, I kind of walk wherever I'm trying to walk. I kind of go wherever I'm trying to go. I'm not a part of that school of fish. And they recognize that and they understand that. And I don't understand their culture well enough. So I'm just doing things based off of how I feel or what I find interesting. And when you do that, from their point of view, you look very confident because it's something that they would want to do. But because they grew up in this society, they know that that's a little strange to do. But because I didn't, and I moved here when I was 25, I don't have that same internal mechanism, just like they wouldn't have it if they were in America. You get what I'm saying? So I'm able to be myself a lot more here than I was in America. With that being said, when I'm approaching women, just the fact that you approach them shows that you are outside of the norm. A lot of guys don't do that here. It's called nampa, right? Which is talking and picking up Japanese women, right? And A lot of people don't do that. But when I do that, they are surprised that I even have the confidence to do it. Maybe they are considered pretty in society, and a lot of guys don't do that because they might be afraid, or they might be afraid of rejection. Where here, I don't even know what rejection looks like from a Japanese woman. You know what I mean? Now, it's happened plenty of times, but it took a while for me to even understand that I'm being rejected. And because of that, I was able to turn a lot of rejections around because I didn't know I was being rejected. You know, them smiling and be like, oh, okay. I don't know what that means. I'm thinking they're just having a conversation with me. You know what I mean? So I wasn't able to tell what a rejection even was. I wasn't able to tell what an awkward situation was. So I just rolled with it. And because of that, it shows confidence to her, and it shows confidence to other people. So when I kind of don't know what I'm doing, like on a film set, but I'm kind of rolling with it, and no, we're going to do this. It's fine. They're like, that's not how we normally do it. It's fine. Let's just do it. They see me as a leader. They see me as an innovator when I'm going forth doing things that aren't of the norm. So I think that's a big thing that helps you develop relationships here. Now, it's not always going to happen like that, right? It took a lot of trial and error, but the fact that I didn't know what the error was allowed me to go through the trials, if that makes sense. Last one, how Japan helped me lose weight. Now, I lost 50 pounds, like I said, in the first 3 months of being here. How does that happen, right? Here, as opposed to America, portions are smaller. You go to a restaurant, your portion is going to be smaller. Even the quote unquote mega size portion is like normal in America, right? So the portions are way smaller. The food is way healthier. They do a lot of things where they make sure their quality of like their beef and their eggs and their fish are as high as possible. You know, Japan is famous for Wagyu beef, which is some of the highest quality beef that you can buy in the world. They eat their eggs raw, so they have to make sure that their eggs are as natural as possible. They want to make sure their chickens have healthy feed and are free range and cage free. So I see a lot of that. That's part of the issue from America that I've seen here. Yeah, the portions. Number two is people here walk a lot more. Like, since I've came here, 10,000 steps a day is like minimum what I get. Whereas in America, 10,000 steps a day would be an accomplishment. You know what I mean? Here, I have, I get an average of maybe 15,000 to sometimes 25,000 steps a day. And that's because I don't have a car, and I don't need it because the train system is so efficient. It's actually riding in a car, you might get to your destination slower than riding a train. So you have to walk to the train station, and the train station's a mile away, right? Now that mile doesn't feel like a mile because I've been doing it so long. And I'll go to the train station, I'll go to work, I'll walk to work, I'll walk around work, I'll walk back to a train station, I'll ride the train back to my city, I walk back home, which is another mile. I might walk back to get something to eat. I might walk back home to eat it. Might walk to the gym. And that really adds up. So I think the most steps I've gotten in a day here is like 50,000. But average is about maybe 20,000 steps, honestly. But back in the days when I was approaching girls in the streets of Tokyo a lot, I would get an average of 50,000 steps a day. And that kind of helped it a lot. Another thing is, what I've noticed is this society doesn't really accept overweight people, or doesn't really accept people that appear to be overweight, because you can still be overweight and you can hold it well, right? So society doesn't accept that. If you are overweight, girls are not going to like you as much, right? And sometimes, especially if they're trying to speak English, they don't have that filter or barrier like they do in Japanese. So they'll let you know. They're like, hey, you're sorry, you're kind of fat. Like, right? They'll just let you know, right? And I've noticed when I've lost weight, my success with girls has gone up tremendously, right? And on top of that, like, there are companies that will get charged from the government if their employees are unhealthy. So the companies actually get your physicals. So they know how much you weigh and how much you don't weigh. And they might get less government assistance when their employees are at risk for more diseases. You get what I'm saying? So, and that plays in the weight. So you would see like twice a year, a lot of most likely men running, jogging, like 2 months before they get their physical. They're trying to get their weight down so they can be at the same weight they were last checkup. You get what I'm saying? Because they don't want to cost their company more money. That's crazy, but that's true. And the last factor that helped me kind of lose weight was the Okinawan diet. They eat a lot of vegetables and a lot of fish. and they eat till about 70% fullness, if that makes sense. So they don't eat until they're stuffed. They eat until they are satisfied. And they have, and they develop that sense just from, not eating processed foods. They eat a lot of olive oil, coconut oil, right? They eat a lot of vegetables, like a ton of vegetables, probably more vegetables than they do any type of protein source, right? And they eat a lot of fish, which has a lot of good omega-3s, right? And I've been eating that diet, and I noticed when I eat that diet, I lose a lot of fat very quickly, right? It's effectively a form of keto. And I'm effectively in ketosis because I will eat maybe once, twice a day, and that would drain a lot of the water weight that I would have. That would drain a lot of the excess fat I have. And plus with the walking and stuff, I don't really work out too much. But because of that diet, I was able to lose that weight. And now I feel amazing, and I've become almost unrecognizable to my family and friends. Now, I've gained half that weight back. And the reason why I've gained half that weight back is because I actually went to America. I went back home. And when I went back home, I got to my old ways, and I was talking to my old friends, and I was hanging out with my family, and I was around just American food, and staying that way even for a month. Like, it's insane. So now I'm back in Japan, and now it's coming back off again. And that just shows you who you hang around is very important. The environment you're around can shape what you're able or capable of doing, because it's a lot harder to hold yourself from certain things when you're always using your willpower to fight things, right? I don't have to use my willpower to fight things here because there's not food that's close to me that's going to potentially kill me or give me cancer. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, those are the 3 things that I did that I was able to kind of shape my new identity, my new life over. Now, how can it happen for you, right? I think if you come to Japan, one thing you should probably do is not move to Tokyo. I know I'm in Tokyo now, but when I first got here, I wasn't. I was in Ofuna, which is close to the beach. And being close to the beach and being in a more rural area, it allowed me to do the diet part a lot better, because Tokyo has a lot more of that, unhealthiness when it comes to the food. Now, it's still way better than what I experienced in America and what you will probably experience in other countries and stuff like that. But it really helped. And the food was cheap, like salmon. I can get a piece of salmon for like $3, right? It's crazy. And so how can I help you? Just spend a year somewhere else, right? Before coming to Tokyo. I know Tokyo or Osaka is where you kind of want to be, but I'm letting you know, if you do come to the outskirts first. And so you can be like 30 minutes or an hour train ride into Japan. Number 2, come here by yourself. If you come here with your sister, brother, your best friend, your second best friend, you're going to be more influenced by them instead of influenced by the Japanese culture. Be influenced by the culture here. I think it's really important to accept it, learn the language, learn the mannerisms, things like that. That will help you adapt to a new lifestyle and become the person you want to become. Ultimately, just moving to another place in general, not just Japan. I'm focusing on Japan because that's where I got this transformation. But if you move to another country, period, you are no longer inundated with a lot of the problems you had in your other country, because your brain doesn't know where to solve those problems anymore. Normally in America, I would just go get Dunkin' Donuts, or I would go get Papa John's or something like that to make myself feel better for something that happened at work. Where here, what people do to de-stress is they go to an onsen or sento, which is basically a very hot bath with water that comes from the volcano. Thanks so much for listening to my story, and I hope you got something from it. I hope to see you in Japan, even if you're not going to move here, even if it's just a vacation or something like that. I'm a pretty cool guy, so we can hang out, which is it doesn't matter. I'll show you the area. But anyway, click this video right here if you want to learn more about some things here, how you can come here, things like that. Peace. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good evening. I don't know where you are listening from this, but have a good one. Bye.